When I try to watch anime, I try to think what's happy, what's likable, and what's normal. And then I realize I am none of those things. But that's okay, because anime was built for that. Anime was built for the weird, the relatable, and the kind of awkward. And speaking of awkward, this show... I'm not gonna lie, this one's a hard one. Watamote. It is a strange, bizarre, yet incredibly relatable show, and that's primarily because of the main star herself, Tomoko Kuroki. Tomoko, at first glance, really doesn't seem like somebody who should be a main character. She seems more like the creepy person in the background. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm just calling it like I see it. But that's what makes her so unique. She's a character, but she's also kind of a stereotype. As bad as that sounds, it actually does help her character. It makes her all the more goofy when she messes up or when she's trying to accomplish her goals, but at the same time, we do still root for her even when there are times when we shouldn't. Tomoko wants to go into high school as a popular girl. All the friends, all the perks, and especially a boyfriend. And she's really good at talking to boys through visual novels and simulators and stuff like that. Not like I play any of those things, I'm just pointing it out. In reality though, she's incredibly shy, can barely form sentences around people. Seriously, finding somebody who she's shy around is kind of like trying to find a needle in a needle stack. And yes, I know exactly what I said by that, try not to think about it too much. It's particularly hard for her because her best friend ended up going to a completely different school. Not to mention, they both seemed dark and moody at first, but her best friend actually grows into being a lovely, open-hearted person. Seriously, she seems totally friendly, albeit somewhat obnoxious at times and airheaded. It makes it all the more happy, yet somewhat sad when you realize Tomoko is at her best when she's with her best friend Yu, yet she somewhat has some self-loathing when they're around. It's kind of heartbreaking and somewhat relatable. Sure, we all like most of our friends, but it'd be silly to think we never get jealous around them or about them. Still, one of the brilliant things about this show is it's not even completely the writer's fault. If anything, there are times where Tomoko herself kind of brings it on. If anything, that's kind of one of my favorite things about the series. Sure, we all feel bad for some of our favorite characters in anime, but let's be honest, sometimes they deserve what they get. And Tomoko is really no exception, sorry to say. She disrespects her mother, she almost never does any of her chores, and she really needs to learn to leave her brother alone. Seriously, it was revealed at one point that the two were incredibly close, but thanks to Tomoko becoming super weird, her and her brother's relationship kind of fell off the rails. I hope it gets better, but I'm really not holding my breath at this point. Then again, I'm not reading the manga that much. And I get it, guys. I'm ignoring the elephant in the room. This show is so much cringe. Seriously, I can't get through one episode without pausing and really thinking about what I'm watching and what I'm doing with my life. Then again, that might be more of a me problem than a Tomoko problem, but considering what everybody else says, it seems like I'm not alone in that boat. Seriously, one of the most painful conversations is simply when it's raining and she's trying to talk to two guys, and it really doesn't go well. Yeah, her imaginations and her chunibyo really do not help her in this case. That being said, I wouldn't necessarily say Tomoko's a bad person, just not a very good one. Seriously, if she doesn't bathe on a regular basis, that itself is kind of hard to ignore, and it's hard to sympathize with. That being said, Tomoko is not a completely horrible person. She does have a lot of moments where she shows her kindness. It's just marred by a lot of cynicisms of the real world, which are completely warranted, especially where we're living right now. Which I think does help the show in some cases. Sure, she's very cynical, and the world she's living in probably isn't a perfect one, But it really does help that nobody is outwardly bullying Tomoko. A lot of people have said, myself included, that if people were bullying her for all of her social anxiety, they don't think they could have gotten through the show, and the show was kind of hard enough to watch as it was. Heck, even with a lot of her shallow thoughts, deep down she does just want friends, more specifically a boyfriend, which I'm not 100% sure will ever come to fruition in the manga, but crazier stuff has happened at this point, so who knows. Not only that, but she is making a lot of strides. In one of the first episodes, she can barely get a word out to her teacher as she's leaving. But towards the end of the series, she's actually able to form a coherent sentence. Mostly, but hey, a victory is a victory. Oddly enough, somebody snapping at her isn't even one of the hardest things to watch. It's probably episode 9 where she wants to spend summer with somebody, but her anxiety just doesn't let her do it. She's so stuck in her own ways that she ends up in a park bench all by herself. It's one of the most heart-wrenching things to see, and it's a really painful thing to watch, especially if you've gone through something like that, like a lot of us have. Oh, and there's also episode 10 where she wants to start a school club. It looks like she did it, and she's made a lot of friends, only for that to be fantasy and have that taken away. That wasn't good writing, that was just mean. But then you get moments where she legitimately is learning. Like I said, she learns to form more coherent sentences, she's actually able to talk to some people. Heck, the student council president, in my opinion, might actually be my favorite character just because of episode 11. She ends up dressing up as a mascot and giving Tomoko a hug, which really makes her day. It's a nice moment, and it's really sad that she ended up graduating, but overall, I think she had a profound effect on Tomoko and actually helped boost her confidence quite a bit. Overall, I'd say Tomoko is a hero to all of us. Shy, stuck in her own ways, but still a kind-hearted person for the most part, who can still be a bit selfish, but no matter what, continues to try. But at the same time though, she doesn't push herself too hard. There are times where she takes steps back and realizes, I don't need to grow that fast. Which I think is an important lesson people need to learn. Sure, we all want to get better and accomplish our goals, but there's no need to rush into it and potentially make things worse. And I'd like to think that if Tomoko was a real person, or if any of us were actually in the anime, she would have a lot of friends. I think I could be friends with her, for the most part. Oh wait, that's right, I'm an introvert too. How's that gonna work? Overall though, Tomoko is a great character. She's enjoyable, she is funny, she is relatable, but she's somewhat selfish, and deep down, we're all a little bit selfish. But what do you guys think? Do you think Tomoko's cool? Do you think she's lame? What do you think of her? And what do you think about the manga? Please let me know, as I've been trying to get into the manga, but manga's a little bit harder for me to get into. So thank you to Tomoko, the protagonist of Watashi ga motte Watamote. Like, subscribe, and try to pronounce that because it's not fun. Also, that theme song is incredible. Music, visuals, everything. One of the best.